All right, let's get right into it. Today we're exploring a timeless fable that holds up a mirror to a very dark, very human pattern. The ritual of scapegoating. It's a story that's as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago.
And boom, the story kicks off with this chilling declaration from the lion. There's a crisis, a sacrifice is being demanded, and this single line just sets this grim stage for what's about to become a masterclass in corrupt justice.
So what is this crisis? A devastating plague has swept through the animal kingdom. But this isn't just a story about sickness. It's about sin and the desperate, dangerous search for someone to blame. The situation is dire. I mean, picture this. A world where even the most ferocious predators have lost their will to hunt. Now, what's really interesting here is that the animals don't see this as a biological event. No, they see it as a punishment from the gods for a terrible sin committed by one of them. You know, this idea has ancient roots. The Greeks called it pharmakos. When a community faced a crisis, a famine, a plague, they believed it was caused by a kind of spiritual pollution, a miasma. To restore balance, they had to find a scapegoat, an individual to carry the sins of the collective, and then sacrifice them. This is the psychological engine driving our whole fable. So, with that in mind, let's head to the council and see how this all plays out. The lion gathers all the animals to confess their sins. The goal? To find the one who's most guilty and offer them as the sacrifice. But as we're about to see, this isn't a search for truth. It's a performance. The whole thing follows a very specific script. The most powerful one confesses first, setting the tone. His crimes are then immediately excused by his cronies. And finally, the weakest member of the group steps forward, completely unaware of the trap that's just been set. So the lion begins, and his confession is brutal. He admits to unprovoked violence, greed, and even killing a human. By any objective measure, these are capital offenses. He presents himself as if he's ready for sacrifice, but it's all a calculated performance. And this is where the performance kicks into high gear. The fox, the clever sycophant, immediately jumps in. He doesn't just excuse the lion, he reframes these atrocities as an honor to the victims. He's the intellectual enabler, twisting reality to protect the powerful. And this isn't a one-off. The other predators, the tiger, the bear, the wolf, they all follow suit. They confess their most wicked deeds, and one by one the council absolves them, making them seem innocent, even saint-like. A clear pattern is emerging. Power absolves sin. Then it's the ass's turn. He steps forward, genuinely burdened by guilt. And what is his terrible crime? He was hungry and nibbled some grass from a priest's field. Just think about the contrast in scale here, devouring shepherds versus tasting some grass. The reaction is immediate and ferocious, an uproar. Before he can even finish, the mob has its verdict. The wolf, whose own bloody deeds were just excused, leads the charge. They fall upon the ascetic and kill him right then and there. They have found their scapegoat. The story itself is powerful, but its true genius lies in its characters. They aren't just animals. They are timeless archetypes that reveal how this mechanism of injustice actually works. So let's break down these roles. The lion is the establishment. He performs a confession to create an illusion of fairness. The fox is the sycophant, the enabler who provides the intellectual justification for hypocrisy. And the ass? He's the marginalized, the one punished not for the severity of his crime, but for his weakness and his honesty. This brings us to the core concept of the fable, selective morality. The ass's real crime wasn't eating the grass. His crime was his vulnerability. In this corrupt system, justice is determined by who you are, not what you did. And this is where the fable stops being a story and starts becoming a diagnostic tool for our own world. It forces us to ask, where do we see this playing out? Who are the asses being sacrificed in our workplaces, our friend groups, our societies? Let's make this even more concrete. This dynamic isn't confined to ancient fables. It's a script that runs on a loop in our modern lives, often in very recognizable ways. Think about the professional world. A company is rocked by a huge scandal caused by executive decisions. That's the lion's sin. To create the illusion of accountability, a low-level employee is publicly fired for a minor clerical error. That employee is the sacrificial ass. Or how about on an interpersonal level? In a social circle, the charismatic leader gets away with toxic behavior, while the quietest, most vulnerable member is exiled for a small, awkward mistake. The
the group purges the ass to maintain a false sense of its own purity.
And what's fascinating is that modern psychology has precise terms for these ancient behaviors. Projection of the shadow is when we cast our own guilt onto someone else. In-group bias is the fox's logic, applying a softer moral standard to our own kind. And moral disengagement is how the whole mob justifies its cruelty to avoid feeling bad about it.
But here's the profound truth at the heart of the fable. This ritual doesn't work. Sacrificing the ass doesn't cure the plague. It just reinforces the corruption that caused the spiritual sickness in the first place. The plague of the soul is not cured by spilling innocent blood.
So if scapegoating is the disease, what's the cure? How do we break this cycle? Well, the source material offers a powerful antidote, a way to defend the ass.
The antidote comes in 4 steps. First, practice consistent morality. Apply the same rules to everyone regardless of their power. Second, refuse to join the mob. When they point a finger, be the one who stands still. Third, practice self-accountability. And finally, seek true justice, which is about protecting the vulnerable, not punishing them. And this brings us to the final, personal challenge. It's easy to see the injustice from the outside, looking back. But the real question is, in the moment, with the roar of the crowd in your ears, would you have the courage to speak up for the ass? Because in the end, the fable leaves us with this haunting warning. A society, a company, or a group of friends that chooses to sacrifice its most vulnerable to protect its most powerful isn't curing its plague. It is proving that it deserves it.